Hello everyone, this is the pre-event building up tables, H9, 40Ks, many volunteers, Aussies.
Missing part of the scenery.
Missing part of the sceneries. Everyone is getting track on it. With the boys building up here. More little buildings, more terrain.
Always more.
Always more. Yeah, they have built some of these little villages. More terrain. More terrain. More terrain.
Alrighty. ATC. Singles. Starting off. No, yeah, if you want, but not just yet. Not yet. Versing the Serbian captain.
Yeah, hi.
Hello, hello. So we met in Greece and we challenged each other for first round in singles. What have I gotten into? Oh, Zangor spam.
So,
Excellent.
2 times Zangors, 4 times Cultists, Abaddon, Ahriman, 2 Demon Princes, basically. That's that.
Wonderful. It's a wonderful first round. I think he challenged me after he found out that I said I was playing Harlequins. Anyway, look at this. This is my my setup for the tournament. The homeless 40k player. I will play for food. So I've Sonia found the what's called the shopping trolley, and I'm going to be using this for the entire tournament as my kind of rig. Should be good. Hopefully I'll get some good footage. Alright guys. Alrighty, so as you saw, I'm versing Luca, and his list is a whole bunch of cultists, whole bunch of Zangors, and lots of psychers in between. Everything's fearless. You got Tyler traders, you've got super threat overload in the first turn with teleporting Zangors, infiltrating cultists, etc. Second turn, you now deep strike the next unit of Zangors, etc. Against the pure Harlequins list, like I'm taking to the ET, like I took to the ETC, which you'll see when we get to those games. That's a bad matchup, very bad. My singles list, however, I modified my my list to have many Cabalite warriors, some Ravagers. I got the Cabal of Black Heart, so I can Agents of Vect. And I've got like some little tech choices. So you saw the list. I've got Homunculus with the Vexated Master fight last, and then 2 succubuses with the Shardness Impalers that can kind of hold things in place. And that's pretty much the list. I've got a lot of the CP get dumped into the bikes. I've got the screens. Dark Eldar I really like anyway. And so I was pretty happy with how I was going to go in this game. I didn't think it was going to be like a complete blowout either way. However, because this is Luca's first run with this list at a tournament, he was trying some things to speed up his game. So you can see he's using the sticks, which is 2-inch spaces, so like the movement tray type things. That didn't work. He said definitely afterwards he was ditching it after our game because it just took too long to set up. So you would have seen that we spent 2 out of the 10 minutes. So these games are like 3.5 hours. So that's about 45 minutes for Luca to do deployment. And we didn't even get to deployment because he was mainly, I won't say stuffing about, but he was trying to make these movement things work. He thought it would speed it up, but really it wasn't. It was, especially when he was moving over terrain and things like that. He had cultists flying. He had like 2 stacks of cultists. You'll see here. Like I'm pointing out to him, and like remember, I'm not necessarily friends with him, but I count him as a close acquaintance. And I was more than happy how the game was going, but it was kind of just taking too long. And in the end, I look at the time. By the time I got my first turn, which, you know, by the middle of this video, which is halfway through the game, I get my first turn, and I knew it was over. Like there was no way I was winning this game. I was just, in essence, just getting some points, because when you're playing a horde army, you need to get to turn 5, realistically, and this is a very common theme throughout this whole tournament for myself, where there's 3 games I play against hordes, and all 3 games I lose, and it's because I don't get more than 3 turns. Literally, that is what I believe to be the true reason for 3 of my 4 losses. So I lost 4 games, and 3 of them were to hordes. And those 3, all 3 of those were purely due to what I'd consider slow play. Now, only one of those players actually slow played me in the negative term, but so Luca and game 3 of the singles, it was just a slow game. Didn't get my 3rd turn. In this game, I didn't even get my 2nd turn. So we actually finished at the end of Luca's. He went first, and at the end of turn 2, his turn 2. We had 5 minutes left, so we just played out my 2nd turn and we called it there. So that's pretty much my experience in the ETC. It was a very, very fun experience overall. But yeah, 3 out of my 4 losses were due to slow playing horde armies. And I've already recommended to the captains that all games where there's an army with more than 100 models should automatically have to use a chess clock. And again, I like Luca, and so this is not a slight on him. And at the end of this game, he realized that it was his slowness, in essence, that cost us having a full game, and he offered me the full 20. Like he was like he won 14-6 or something like that. Let me have a look at my little list. No, sorry, 18-2. He got 18 out of me, but we only got to turn 2, as I said. And he offered me the full 20, just because it was still a close game. Like it, and I'll talk a little bit about the tactics in a second. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but so it's more the power to him. But there was just a few things that could definitely, from a ETC point of view, that could definitely be done to improve that type of gameplay. And you can see he's kind of ditched the. What's it called? The movement trays. I'm trying to think here. And you can see, flying models and things like that. Anyway, so Luca's game plan. My game plan is I'm bubbling out, right? So we'll now actually talk about tactics here. It's like we're watching a video and just rambling on like an old man. Doing tactics, bubble with your guardians, not guardians, the warriors. Keep your bikes safe. The bikes are going to do the majority of the work here. And then from turn 2 onwards, when a lot of the warriors are dead, and you can see what I've done here. I've pushed up with my disintegrators, because they're the boats, because they're going to be catching smites for your bikes, because the bikes are very, very fragile for charges. So you can see, they're bubbling out to prevent charges from deep strike. They're bubbling out to prevent smites, etc., etc. The bikes, you can see at the end of my turn 2, I've still got the full complement bikes. None of my bikes are dead. I've lost maybe a third of my army, but I've killed 3 full units. 3. I've killed all the Zangors. The first unit of Zangors. I kill half a second unit of Zangors. I kill all the cultists, the Alpha Legion cultists, and almost all but 1. That's right. There was 1 unit. 1 model left of one of the green units right on this objective 4 there. So I've killed probably about half of Luca's army on my turn 2, and I still have pretty much all my bikes alive, which is why I believe I was still in a really good position for how this game was going to go. Something that Luca did a little mistake on, and hopefully he picked it up later on, because the Endless Cacophony, it's a double shoot thing with his because he buffed up the Alpha Legions, and that was Sinesh. Buffed them fully up, shot them, didn't do that much damage, shot them again, but I vectored that shoot again. He then charged, made the charge, hit a bunch of things, and then he swung again, and I had to vec that. Now, I realized after the fact that he couldn't do that because they're not Khorne, and I believe you have to be Khorne to do that. Hopefully that was just a honest mistake. I'm going to take it as an honest mistake. This was the very first game of the singles, and he fixed it up later on. Something just again because I wanted to see once I knew I'd lost. So it's turn 2. We're not getting past turn 2. I know we've lost this game. I know I've lost this game just because Luca's got like 10 cards or 10 Maelstrom points, and he's sitting on almost all the objectives. I say, all right, cool. I'm just going to learn something. And so I dive in my Solitaire, blitz him, dive him into right next to Ahriman and what's the guy's name? Oh god, I can't believe I've forgotten the name. It's the guy who makes everyone feel so bad. And normally I would just go straight for Ahriman and try and kill him because I've got the Rose on the Solitaire. But I want to see what happens. Can a Solitaire that swings twice kill Abaddon? And the answer is, if your opponent's lucky, no. So I got Abaddon down to 1 wound with double swinging, so 20 attacks. 22 attacks because the Solitaire took a wound on in, and so I spent 1 CP to give him +2 strength and all that type of stuff. So yeah, 22 attacks, and I nearly killed Abaddon because his, is it 4-up or 3-up save? I can't remember which. It was one of it. It was like a 3-up invo, and oh no, just even 3-up save because he's got like a 2-up armor, and the Rose is only -1, so it's 3-up armor, and I think he's got Feel No Pain or something like that. Anyway, he's just really, really hard to kill. Anyway, end of the game is here. This is the turn 2. I dive in because I just want to see how much damage bikes can do against a Demon Prince, etc. Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much it. It's me pushing in, scoring it, and getting as many points as I can for the game to, in essence, just end on turn 2. I got 2, which was great, but not good enough for the tournaments, really. Anyway, I thanked Luca for the offer of giving me the full 20. I didn't take it. I wished him best of luck for the thing, and we swapped shirts. You can see him; he's wearing my shirt, and I did enjoy the game. I just really wish we had gotten more than two turns. Alrighty, round 2 of the singles versus Cress from Denmark, correct?
No, from the Netherlands.
My apologies. Denmark and Danish. No, you didn't say Dutch, Netherlands. All right, this is what happens when you get an Australian. You don't know all these bloody countries. All right, and he's got a beautiful, absolutely beautiful Harlequin army. Look at this stuff. So it's Harlequins versus Harlequins. This is like the only time I've ever seen this happen in any game.
Yeah, this is my first time having a mirror match.
It's awesome. While I do have some Dark Eldar, it's still a primary of Harlequins. So I've got everyone. Look at this piece of terrain. This is insane. So everyone back here hiding, and I've got all my bikes and reserves, and as you know, my beautiful little get up here. So as you saw in the intro, Cress is playing a nice Harlequin list, really nicely painted. I really like Soaring Spike because their kind of chapter tactics really do help the Harlequins, allowing you to always be advancing and not kind of negating your shooting in any way. It helps with the bikes, and it helps with the fusion pistols. And I played around with a list like his in the lead up, but something I noticed, and I definitely noticed it in my teams list, and I've kind of adjusted it a little bit since. But Harlequins and Harlequin bikes specifically, they really, really, really need CP. And you can see that's why I've gone the double battalion detachment to support my bikes in my singles list. Because once Harlequin bikes run out of CP, That's it. And that's pretty much how you kill them. And one of the main focuses I was doing for Chris's army was I targeted the boats, so I deboat him as soon as possible. Pretty much everything focus fired on the boats, and try and touch him in combat as much as possible, so he can't advance and get that 3-up invo. And that's pretty much all I focused on, and it worked. I screened off with 3 units of warriors, hit as much as I could, forcing him to have to dive me if he wanted to hurt me. He killed one of my boats, but you know, that's to be expected with that much haywire looking at you. I drop in with my bikes. I'm protecting my bikes because I know that's what's going to win me the game later on. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm looking to drain his CP, touch him in combat so the survivability of the bikes isn't amplified. And again, the CP is to get protection with bikes. You need CP. When you've got CP, bikes are absolutely amazing. Without CP, they start struggling a lot. So drain CP. Mitigate some of the protectiveness, so not being able to advance, because Harlequin bikes need to advance to get that 3-up, and deboat him, so slow down the troops. That's my game plan. I'm giving away a little bit about the end, but that's pretty much how it went. I really, as I said in the intro, and please post in the comments if you happen to know that I've played against Harlequins before in a tournament, but I don't believe I've ever played in like 15 years of games in 2nd edition Harlequins versus Harlequins. I'm sure my army's not pure Harlequins, but I don't believe I've ever had that. Like you've seen me play pure Harlequins and Harlequin in my army, and I've played against Harlequins, but not at the same time. It's very rare. And what amazed me very much was in the singles, so this game, it happened. And then in the team event, it happens again. To me, it's a crazy thing. It's great. I mean, Harlequins have not historically been what we'll call a top tier army, and that's enough people brought Harlequins to the ETC. To me, is absolutely wonderful. I think that the rest of the game pretty much goes as is, as how I described it. So right now, minimal damage. I deboated Chris. I assaulted his unit here in the middle. I didn't do that much damage because Shadow Seers are great for reducing damage. I believe he manages to kill that middle bike unit through smite spam and just bikes charging and things like that. But again, he pushes in. I think he's down to like 2 CP now, or if that. And so his turn 2, which is now, he's really, this is it pretty much. So if he can't do a death blow in essence, he's going to be really, really struggling because his bikes won't have any type of protection, and his psychers are either going to be dead, because I think he only has 1 Shadow Seer. Psycher's going to be dead in a second, and so he's got no way of doing buffs, no way of doing movement shenanigans. Everything's in combat, so he can't do any advances or rapid movement, so the Soaring Spike thing goes away, and he will slowly get picked off. And that's pretty much how the rest of this game goes. I just have too many little units, like the warriors, getting in the way of my hard-hitting units. So when he wants to engage, he can't engage exactly how he wants. And again, I've got a whole bunch of characters. Remember, this is, 4 or 5 characters sitting around my army, and all Dark Eldar characters, plus Assaulter, plus Troop Master, the 6-inch Heroic Intervention, plus all the different characters doing Heroic Intervention if necessary, plus the Vexator Master to make you strike last. It's just all of that means your damage is mitigated. And so every time Crest was kind of going in for that punch, he wasn't doing the damage he was expecting. And it's just, he's getting, his CP is just getting drained and drained and drained until no more CP, and now his defensiveness goes away. So yeah, that's pretty much how the rest of the game goes. I'll let it play out for you guys, just so you get an idea in terms of movement and things like that. But yeah, I lose about half my army, but I've still got, I don't know, about 3 or 4 CP near the end of the game. Or not, like I use everything by the end, but like by turn 2, I've still got like 3 or 4 CP. Crest has got none, and I can just slowly grind him out. And if I am about to lose a bunch of my bikes, I can then use the neg 1 to hit, or I can do the 3-up invo if I'm not in combat for some reason. What else? So while this game plays out, talk a little bit more about the ETC. So the singles was really good for, I think, everybody. Andy, who wasn't playing the teams, it was our coach. I think he quite enjoyed himself in the singles event and playing his Custodes. Everyone else played their team event, I believe. Sorry, their team list. I don't know if anyone actually changed it, except for myself. So I just felt that Harlequins, solo Harlequins, wasn't that competitively strong in a singles environment. There was just too many reds. And you need the CP, and so this is why I brought the Dark Eldar contingent. And because I'd been in a whole tear in the last 6 to 8 months of playing Dark Eldar, that I really wanted to play Dark Eldar. Like I'd done a bunch of Eldar last year, up until the end of last year when I switched to Harlequins for ATC, and then switched to Dark Eldar, and they're my 3 loves in addition to Tyranids, of course, and GC Occult. But yeah, I really want to get back into the Dark Eldar swing of things. So here's me just wrapping it up. So it's turn 4 now. Everything's cleared off. I think he's just got like a troop master, his Warlord troop master right in the back corner there, and like a unit of troops or something like that. And this is pretty much just Crest trying not to get tabled, because he's got a bunch of cards. You can see his stack is pretty high, but the turn goes, I think we get to turn 5, we roll it and goes 6, and he then just shakes the hand. Alrighty, game 3 in the singles versus Gavin. He's a Scotsman who's playing for Team Canada, and he's bringing in a Nurgle. I was going to say heavy, but it's pretty much just Nurgle with a smattering of Khorne, because apparently Khorne and Nurgle are best buds. I don't know. That's how it works, yeah?
That's how it works.
Very good, and we've got a whole bunch of Khorne Demons in reserve. Alrighty, so playing Gavin and his Nurgle Poxwalker farm with, of course, obligatory Bloodletters. First time I've actually played with the full Plaguebearer only army. So I'd played against Plaguebearers, but not, was it like 180 of them, and the tree and all the supporting characters and all that type of stuff. So to me, it was going to be a very, very interesting game. As I talked about in game 1, this is another game where it wasn't even I believe. It was had we gone past turn, had I gotten my turn 4, so we'd gotten 3 turns, as in Gavin had his 3rd turn, and we had to, in essence, end it on his 3rd turn. We had less than 5 minutes to go on my 3rd turn. We played it out, and by the end of my 3rd turn, Gavin had 1 unit. But this was a progressive scoring, burn your opponent's objective down mission, and he just had an unassailable lead after turn 2, and that we only had 1 other turn. So I believe I did my absolute darndest to kill as much Plague Bearers as possible, to not just kill the Plague Bearers, but also to bubble out and protect my bikes and my kind of soft, gooey center from his Blood Bomb, and I think I did an admirable job in that. I killed a lot of Plague Bearers, and you'll see. So he pushes forward. He gets a turn 1 charge off. He spends 2 CP to auto pass a Fearless, and then he's also got the 2 dice. And if he rolls a 1, he doesn't even fail the morale, and he actually gets them back. One of the big mistakes he makes is coming up here on turn 2, and this is the turn that I decide to dive him with my Solitaire, is because all his characters that are right down in the back there, and he had a whole bunch of Plague Bearers kind of surrounding them. He now pushes forward, and you'll see, like, he's pushing forward, and he's put all his characters right next to each other. My Solitaire hasn't blitzed yet. It's just sitting there going, doom, 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 when's a good time? Oh, now's a good time. And so I blitz in to the back there in my turn 2, and double swing and kill all 4 characters, because they're all infantry. When you were dealing 3 wounds each, and they're not high, they're not like a Abaddon, where they're getting like 2 up normal save or 3 up after neg 1s. They're all like 5 up in vulnerables, and yeah, they're all getting punished. So I kill all of his characters, and on his turn 2, and it really, really, really hurts his army, because now his morale's not getting the 2 dice. He's not getting the +1 or 2 movement and +1 attack or something like that. It's just like all the buffs that he's relying on just fall apart. I had to give up the bottom side. Like, I pretty much do a retrograde advance, as anyone from the regimental standard would know. From the bottom side of the board, I'm kind of flipping it back up a little bit, where I'm going to hold the kind of middle to middle top portion of the the board, sorry, and just pretty much causing as much damage as possible while holding them off with the warriors in my army. My turn. What turn is this? I think this is turn 2. Yeah, because I didn't get my 3rd turn. So my turn 2. I push in. I'm hitting that big middle blob with all my shooting and then all my charges. I'm charging with my vehicles as well. Like, I'm just charging with everything. And here we go. My Solitaire is blitzing in right now. So this is my turn 2. Solitaire's blitzing in. I'm killing all of his units in the middle. His characters, there we go, one of them's dead, 2 of them's dead. I think at the end of the fight phase I swing again, and that's where I get rid of the other ones. I believe that's correct. I may have misremembered. This is about 6 weeks ago this happened, because I went on holidays after the ETC. And so I've just gotten back last week, catching up on everything. But yeah, all the guys in the middle collapse. The units, all the tendrils, they're all now looking shaky because he's lost his morale thing, lost the plus to hit thing, and now while they're still they're still Plague Bearers and they still hurt, they're all starting to get almost under the 20, so they're neg 1 to hit thing, and it's not looking as strong. And remember, this is now turn 3 of Gavin, so turn 3 of Gavin's about to happen, and you get the idea. It's starting to fall off the rails. However, as I said with Luca's game, time is ticking away, and because we were having a really fun game, and Gavin's a really nice guy, I didn't pull out the chess clock. I was thinking of it, but I lost the first game, and I don't believe I was playing for top tables or anything like that, so I just went, it's fine, they'll be fine. I made a judgment call. I think the judgment call was right, but it was the wrong call to not use a chess clock. Again, I think it's going to be my rule, my personal rule from almost now on, that as soon as I see my opponent has more than 100 models, and 100 is an arbitrary number, but just I'm going to say over 100 models, boom, I'm going to use a clock. Nothing new personally, just my experience. I still was very cognizant of the Blood of the Bomb, because this is his turn 3. He drops them in. And you can see he was trying to kind of get them behind my army. I made sure that he could never do that, so he had to push out there. He killed the boat, but that was my sacrificial boat. I charged forward with it to gain space for my army. He killed the boat, and it's like, oh well, my boat's dead. But now that unit of blood is dead, and that's pretty much it. So no, that was his third turn. Oh yeah, here we go. And this is us now, in essence, just talking through my third turn. I move forward. I do some of my shots. Once it's clear that Gavin's lost his bloodletters through all the shooting, etc., etc., I say, okay, this is assaulting, this is assaulting, this is assaulting. But we had to call for time, and so we couldn't actually resolve any of the assaults. So yeah, sorry. I got half of my third turn just because I got shooting done. It was very clear that it was going to get stuff was going to get killed, and this is us scoring in us because I didn't get my assaults off. But we just declared that all the plague bearers in the middle were dead, and he had 1 unit left. So that was pretty much it. He had 1 unit of plague bearers left at the end of my third turn. Had we kept on going, you saw how much army I had left. It would have. To me, it was an easy win from there. However, we didn't, and I managed to scrape 3 points. All right, round 3 of the singles, versing a guy from Belarus called Santan. Lots of Zangor bows, lots of characters, the big corner skulls. Plague bearers, blood leather bomb dropping in, bunch of little nurglings. That's my deployment in a big circle. Got lots of characters on either side. It's going to be a very interesting game. Alright, so Santan was great to play against. Really fun. He played a different army in his team event, so this is something that he wanted to bring to the singles, because he's got the little bow. What do they call it? Enlightened, I think. So it's like an enlightened span with a big Lord of Skulls. And we were talking a little bit through the game. I was just asking, how's he finding the Lord of Skulls? Because it can be good, but the kind of overall belief is it's a bit overpriced. I can't remember if I swapped. Did I swap shirts with him or his teammate? One of the two. So I did eventually swap shirts with one of the guys from Belarus, and because I played both him, Santan, and one of his teammates in the next round, and we then end up in round 6 playing Belarus. So it was a bit of a reunion, but I'll get to that when I get to that. So I played against Enlightened Span before, and so I kind of know what's needed, and I know how much damage that the Enlightened can do. So they were priority number 1. So Enlightened first, and then Lord of Skulls second. Santan plays really defensive with Lord of Skulls. I kind of, not bait is not necessarily the best word, but I kind of make sure that if he wants to try and get any of my bikes or my disses, so my disses are going to, instant kill his Enlightened. I've deployed him really defensively, behind line of sight blocking terrain, so he has to really dive forward to get them, which he does, and he kills one of the boats, but that's not enough, and he's now in not a good position, because he's kind of like the big unit of, you can see here, he's got a unit in the middle. He's kind of, I'm going to say, overreached with them. They've done a bit of damage, but they're not supported, and they're not necessarily in a good position. You can see all the bikes ready to pounce. My disses from my Ravagers are looking at the back unit going, ooh, that should be pretty good. Because even if they got neg 1 to hit, which they did, there's 3 units of them. I think it was 2 or 3. Anyway, and I can always shoot at least one of them without the negs, but then I've got the reroll ones to hit and reroll ones to wound. So it's not a terrible proposition to do those shots. And the unit of Enlightened that's pushed forward, I've just got too many little dudes. Like, I've got the shots from all the warriors, and then they charge, and they also punch, and I've still got the reroll ones to hit and wound from them. So warriors, especially like turn 3 onwards, no, turn 2 onwards, because they're blackheart, they're hitting on 2s. So sure, they're wounding on 5s or 4s, but they're rerolling 1s to hit and 1s to wound. They're pretty strong. Like, I know some people don't necessarily rate the warriors that much, but I think they're pretty cool. And I like charging with warriors. I just don't know why, but I do. And when they're supported with like a succubus with a shardnet, you kind of get the best of both worlds from a witch. You don't get as many attacks, of course, and witches have the bonuses of the +1 strength or +1 attack through combat drugs. I don't know. I really like warriors, and they're very cheap for what they do. So my priority one was the Enlightened. I managed to kill all bar one unit, I think. Yeah, there's 1 unit left, and I actually spent 3 CP to double swing, but Santon, he spent 2 CP to interrupt to reduce some of that damage that was going to come through. So yeah, we're both, like, once he started losing whole units, like the 2 boats killed almost an entire unit by themselves, and then all the other little dudes, he lost the ones that was pushed towards my army. So it's really just that 1 unit of Enlightened that he's trying to survive with, and he swings first to try and kill as many as he can, but then I double swing to try and hurt as many of those as I can, but he still kind of has, we'll say, like about 7 or 8 models left. So he starts from 3 units, he's down to less than 1. Alright, and so now the Lord of Skulls is coming into play, and it's going to cause a bit of damage. I'm relying on my invulnerable saves to really protect me, because I think his flame is like 3 damage each or something like that. They're almost like perfect bite killing targets. And he's looking for a charge, but I don't think he makes the charge, or maybe he does. I can't remember exactly. And forgive me, just because there was 2 of the lists I didn't take a photo of the list. I'm not 100% sure what's just deep struck in. They could be Zangors, or they could be Bloodletters. I think they're Zangors, because yeah, he was doing like an Enlightened Zangor list. Anyway, he's deep struck in with his reserves. His little cultist unit. They are, I want to say Nurgle, because they were hard to kill. Yeah, I think they were Nurgle. Anyway, the little dudes all falling apart. There's just a giant combat. You can see here, there's a big combat. And no, they are Plague Bearers, yeah. So the Plague Bearers are in, but there's just too many bodies. So I remember this moment here, that Santan, he was kind of getting stuck with how many models could actually reach each other, because there's just too much stuff there. You know what I mean? So when you get almost like an oversaturation of models, you start losing efficiency of damage, because you're trying to cram 5 models through 1 inch through one single model, and that one single model though can only hit 1 unit. And now you're hitting 6 models into 1 unit that may be just a single model too. And so you're kind of super overkilling stuff. And what you actually want to touch, you can't, because you can't reach it, or you can't get the model within 1 inch to reach it. And that's kind of what was happening here. It was just this cluster of just 1,000,001 models was just making it so that he wasn't getting full efficiency on his damage. Now, I'm not to say like I was getting perfect efficiency, because like, remember, he's charging me. So when I actually swung back, I had to make sure I was doing it in the right order, and occasionally I would kill too much with some of my models, and he would then pull those models, so then the next unit couldn't swing. So I also wasn't getting all the swings that I could have. Anyway, I managed to kill the Lord of Skulls. The great thing about having a Dreaming Shadows bike unit, I believe that's what I had. Yeah, of course I did. That's what my list says. So Dreaming Shadows with the bikes is when they die, on the 4-up they can shoot. And so I think I killed his Lord of Skulls through dying. So when my bikes were actually getting killed, I was doing, in essence, a second round of shooting at the Lord of Skulls, which is always an unpleasant surprise from... He's like, oh, why won't you die? Oh, you're dead. Oh, no, now you're going to kill me for that pleasure. And then the fallback stratagem. So when you fall back from the bikes, that's they can shoot you just for 1 CP. It's wonderful. Anyway, eventually everything in the middle is kind of starting to collapse. He's got a couple of characters left over. And we manage... I think we've got the turn 5, maybe 6. Can't remember exactly. But yeah, eventually it's characters and bikes, and he's running away with everything. I managed to use some of my bikes to snipe out the last of his Zangors, and then I finally get the last few wounds on his characters and get the 20. Alright, last game of the ESC, versing Anton. And I'm versing finally, after 5 games, I'm versing Knights. So we've got big Knights, little Knight and medium Knights, as he said. Bunch of Skitari, yeah? And Imperial Guard.
Skitari, Imperial Guard, Knights,
lots of
correct.
Crusaders.
Yeah,
I love the cloaks. They look really nice.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Yeah, really cool. So we're going to be playing Hammer and Anvil. You'll see the deployment in a second. And we're just deploying. Alrighty, so playing Anton. Now, again, I may have swapped with him my shirts. Don't know. I had a really fun game both against Santan and Anton. But yes, one of my greens, and I'm using little bunny ears in inverted commas, is Knights. Now, however, I had not played against the Skitari, what are they called? The Dune Crawlers, not Dune Crawlers. The sticky pokey stick guys. It's in the list. It would have been before there. I am sipping some Slovenian blueberry liqueur, so I'll slowly descend into madness by the end of Game 6 of the ETC. So. And those guys are painful. I had not seen these guys in action. The Dune Crawlers, or whatever the things are, on the right hand side of and they've got a base neg 1 to hit. They go to the neg 2 because of stickies, I think. They deploy, but then they can infiltrate front or back. And then when they eventually do charge, they go the stratagem for +2 to hit, and so normally exploding 6s, but they're exploding 4s, and each one of their hits is 2 damage each, and it hurts. And when you interrupt with that ability, so if you've got a bunch of combats happening and someone hits with 1 unit, you just interrupt, and you will pretty much kill everything that you're touching, and that's pretty much what happens in this game. Now, there was some really fun things that were triggering Arton, that's how you pronounce it. So he failed twice on his Crusader unit. With rerolls, the what's it called, the blessing move, whatever it is. You can kind of do a Saint Celestine can do it. Like all the Sisters of Battle type things, they do it. You roll a dice. I think it's on the 2-up. You can do like a move or a swing or whatever. He rolled a 1. He re-rolled that 1. Got another 1. And because this game was the relic, he couldn't then move up that unit and grab that relic. And so then my turn 1. So he went first. I went first. Ah, dear. This is what happens when you forget, but you're watching, you're paying attention. The main thing is, I managed to, with my 10-inch move succubus, because I've got the +2 inch move combat drug, I made I did a 1 CP automatic 6-inch run. I ran up, grabbed the relic, and then ran back, and then I just pushed everything in front of her. And that relic grab, that turn 1 relic grab, and then she surviving on like 2 wounds in the second turn, meant that by the end of this game, it really helped in the scores. I won't give it away just yet. Yeah, and so I thought all my bikes would be really good against all his armor. They dropped in turn 1, so they reserved, but they dropped in turn 1, right on my line. They're all in range of those Dragoon thingamajiggies. And Dragoons, yeah, I think that's what they're called. And do like no damage whatsoever. It's amazing. When then, neg 2 to hit, yeah, you're doing nothing. It was really, really eye-opening. And now I know how people feel when they're shooting at me. But they're like toughness 6 or 7 or something like that, and they've got their own 5-up invo. Like I've got a 4-up invo, but I'm only toughness 4, so all is forgiven. Anyway, he pushes forward. The Raven house, I think it's a Raven one that he had. The big Castellan, he nukes a whole unit of bikes. It's just absolutely disgusting. Even with neg 2 to hit, he's just plowing through stuff. He also caught me on something that I didn't realize, and he showed me in the FAQ, like the ETC FAQ, but apparently, like after talking to a friend of mine, there was an actual specific FAQ for lightning reflexes. So he, with his Castellan, could target like multiple units, but not say which weapon was shooting. I then had to declare lightning fast reflexes, and then he could shoot only say one weapon that wasn't necessarily the strongest at that unit, and then the other one at the other thing. But according to an Eldar FAQ, lightning fast reflexes is determined after you determine the weapon. Now that's an Eldar one, necessarily a Harlequin one, but anyway, I asked him to show me it, and he showed me the ETC FAQ, which seemed to contradict that. So it was just really weird. So I played it as it is, but so it seems a bit stronger, especially for night players, where you can just go, I've got 6 guns. I'm going to target 6 units. Now you do your defensive stuff, and now I'll pick which shots go where. But I don't believe that's actually how it plays out. In any case. My game plan, alright, so let's actually talk about tactics here. My game plan is grab the relic, and then protect the relic. Push forward when I can, and use my bikes to try and kill kill what I can. But his army is really, really survivable. When everything's kind of stiggies, everything's neg 1 to hit base. None of the knights are dying as I was expecting. Like he's got a big knight, he's got the big Castellan, he's got the gallant, the one that punches. He's got a little knight there in the middle. Plus, he's got these dragoon things. Nothing was dying. It was very, very impressive. And I'm just throwing stuff at him to hold him off, holding objectives, getting cards, and running the relic back. But none of his stuff was dying. And look. Did you see how fast that knight moved? Like in one turn, it pushes forward, it shoots, and then it. I think he used the advance and charge thing. Oh, I can't remember all the details, but he's doing a crap ton of damage into me. But I'm making him fall backwards. So I'm pushing forward while protecting the relic, and this is the key to what the final outcome is for this game, where I'm creating space while still holding objectives and sacrificing what I can, looking to win the game. Now, this against Switzerland, and we'll get to that in a couple of games. I think I did this perfectly. Sure, we went to turn 7. And we'll get to that. That was a really fun game. But the game plan in this kind of instance, when you're kind of going, oh shit, I'm not killing the things I want to kill. All right, I'm going to start sacrificing inconsequential things to gain positional advantage. And this is a moment here. Look, you can see here, his dragoons. He's jumping for joy right now because I've charged with like 5 or 6 different units to his dragoons, and I also charged one thing to his backline. I think it was the solitaire. I start with the solitaire. I kill a bunch of stuff, and then he goes interrupt, and now you're about to watch what's going to happen here. His dragoons just absolutely decimate all of those units. Like he puts like one dragoon into a troop master, just nukes him. Like it's no one's business. one Dragoon into a whole unit of what's it called? Warriors, kills all of them. You know, he gets about, say, let's pretend he's got 4 attacks. When each one of those attacks, if he rolls a 4+, is 3 hits. I think that's right. Oh, it's absolutely disgusting. Anyway, I finally killed that Gallant. I think that's the one that pushed forward, the melee one. And I've still got, respectable amounts of bikes, but it's nowhere near enough to actually now push in and try and kill his army. But I've got the relic. I'm hiding the relic. I'm sitting on objectives, and the game ends turn 5, I believe. Thankfully for me, and unfortunately for Artan. And so I got the win for 11-9. Had we gone on one more turn, it probably flips to him. It's not a 20-0 or anything like that, but it definitely flips to him. And then if it goes to turn 7, no, it's game over for me. But it was really fun, and he did get unlucky with his Act of Faith. That's what it is. You know, I knew I'd get to it. Alrighty, round 1 of the ETC versing Turkey here. So this is our boys.
And Judah said, "Oh no, we have a cow."
And down. And I'm versing Izik, captain of the Turkish team, and he's been talking to me, helping out in the prep. And drinking. And we've been, we were both champions in essence, which was great. We get to verse each other. So we're playing like the pointy Hammer and Anvil, Custode, Bikers, and some Sisters versus all Harlequins. Should be a really interesting matchup. So we get to the ETC proper, and this is a game, and this round in particular is something that was in the lead up really exciting. Just because I'd been talking to Izik, I'd never met him before, but I was talking to him. He's one of the ETC chairman, and I'd been talking to him in the kind of lead up to it, and we're discussing some stuff about the marketing and things like that. And I really liked the way he was kind of operating. And I said, because I was trying to organise like a what's it called, like an Ashes game against the English guys, but the England captain, there's not a slide on him. It just, he wasn't getting back to me, and it was getting kind of closer and closer to the time. So I said, all right, fine, look, don't worry about it. I'll organise a challenge, or a, challenge with Turkey and Izik. And I pitched the idea to him, and so we then started some friendly banter, and it started getting really excited for us. And you see there, this is something I promised. So I'm eating a turkey sandwich. We did a poem, and it was like a public poem, and I said, we'll be eating a turkey sandwich. So Sonia and I, we made the turkey, and Andy, we made the turkey sandwiches in the morning, and we gave them to everyone in the team, and we were all eating it, and just yum 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 yum. Anyway, the game itself and the round itself was, I believe, really fun for all of our team. It was a very, very close round. This game, however, I completely botched it. I got wrong in terms of my own matchup. Now, I rated this as a yellow because I have enough smite that I think I can get away, get through the bikes, and I knew how to play around the bikes enough. I thought I could kind of work it out. However, I knew he had Saint Celestine, but I didn't really think about how Saint Celestine would work with this bike list. So he's got a whole bunch of bikes, right? 3 full units of bikes, 3 shield captains, and Saint Celestine. What Saint Celestine does is, at minimum, 11 wounds of smite catching. And she can then, with 1 CP, turn off or try and deny 2 more smites, which is, it's almost like Colexis Insane. It's great. So that's exactly how Izik did it. So you see, like he active faithed her twice, once to move up, once to move normally, charged me, in essence just stood in front of me and saying, all right, you need to deal with this. And I dealt with it really easily. Just, smites, shoots, yep, cool, you're dead. But those 11 smites plus I got a normal. 11 mortal wounds versus smites. Plus she dispelled one of my spells on this turn, and then he teleported her back, you know, to kind of the middle of the board, and then turned off another one of my spells, which was a smite on an 11. So that's what we'll say conservatively that was 4 plus 5, 6, 17 mortal wounds saved. Plus I still have to get through another 6 wounds or 7 wounds that she's got, plus Gemini respawning each turn. She is I didn't click how awesome a smite catcher that she was, and how she was the protection for the bikes. Because you can imagine if, you know, I got say 17 mortal wounds off in the bike unit, that's a bike unit dead. Now it's and this is why I really like this St. Celestine over the CP farm. Because the CP farm's not necessarily going to be moving that far forward and catching all those smites from the bikes if you're you know, super aggressive with them, whereas St. Celestine can kind of keep up. Anyway, it didn't trigger to me, and also there was another thing I made a mistake in this game. I had the game plan I thought was perfect. It's just I didn't realize that swooping dive. I kind of knew that swooping dive was a thing. I knew you could do it. But I didn't realize that the wording on swooping dive, and this is my bad, and I made sure I told everyone in the team, was that when swooping dive activates, you actually swing prior to charges. So so I made sure you can see I charged with everything outside of 12 of the other unit, except for one, which was my solitaire. I dived him straight in, knowing that he'd swooping dive. But I thought I'd swing with the solitaire first and try and get him to kill. But he goes, no, swooping dive happens first. I had to look at the wording. Oh my god! So he kills my solitaire like it's no business. But more importantly, he got distance. So his back unit of bikes, you know, moved up in essence 12 inches, and now it's pushing down my throat. I make a game of it. I try and do as much damage, and you know, I managed to kill I think 2 units of his bikes, but it costs pretty much my entire army. And while I didn't get tabled and I could run away for the next turn, you can see Ezekiel's a busy guy, you know, especially being one of the organisers here. And every 10 seconds he's got someone coming over to ask him some question, not really letting him play. So I said, man, look, I don't think I'll be able to score even 1 point in this game. You know, really good game, but you go deal with your stuff. And we call it there. But yeah, I definitely won't make that mistake again. If I see St. Celestine and then super like hyper aggressive rest of the army, I'll know what the interplay is there. I just didn't know of that, and definitely I felt the pinch. So going from my singles list to now my team list, while the core is similar, the big difference. Well, you know, you might think, oh yeah, you've got more expensive troops and all that, but that's not the difference. The big difference is actually 2 big differences. One, because I still have the same amount of characters, pretty much. One is I don't have Vect, so I couldn't turn off swooping dive as an example. And 2, I don't have that extra 5 CP. I think I've got extra 4 because I've got, you know, like a Vanguard. And so 4 CP doesn't seem like a much, but remember I was saying that one of the big weaknesses of Harlequins is once they run out of CP, they run out of steam, and that was very evident in this game. Yeah. CP is king for Harlequins, and if you run out, it's not a good thing. Anyway, so this game ended 20-0 to against me. Sorry, 0-20, and we actually end up winning the round by 1 point. So it was a very, very close game. We thought it was very close to a draw for all of it. We managed to pull out for 1 point. Very, very happy to play against Zeke, and moved on to the round 2. Alrighty, round 2, guys. Versing Nick Rose from the USA, and we're versing Team USA. I think we got some, or at least according to our list, it's some favourable matchups, but what do we know? Versing Harlequins against my other love, Gene Stealer Cults and Gene Stealers and Tyranids. Very different list. I think I'm going to enjoy this. Alrighty, so as you saw from the intro, I was super excited to play this game. One, because from last year's EC when we played the USA, it was last round, and pretty much everyone got drunk except for myself and I think it was Brad. So myself and my opponent, Mr. Curtis, and I think it was their captain Chester. I think he didn't get drunk. I don't know. It was fun. Anyway, we enjoyed ourselves back in Greece, and it's always good to play the USA. They always seem to be a friendly bunch. And I was really excited to play against this army. So you know, if you've been watching my channel, I have played Tyranids, Genestealer Cult, Eldar, Dark Eldar, Harlequins, and that's pretty much it. For 5 years, those have been the armies, and Corsairs. Well, while they were a thing, but and so it was a really interesting list. I really liked the concept of it. I knew how it played just because I've played so much Tyranids and Genestealer Cult, and you know, so I knew what the tricks were, and I was just saying to Nick, all right, what's the theoretical distance that these guys can do psychic screams? I'm kind of measuring everything out. Nick wins the roll off to go first, gives me first turn, which is correct. Actually, he was wavering. He went, all right, I'll go first. And I went, all right, cool. And I seemed a bit too excited, so he was like, oh, no, actually, you go first. And I was like, yep, no, okay. That's the right choice. Because I had set up to go second, and he was pushed far enough back that had he gone second, it wouldn't have been a problem for him. And so making me go first means I have to push up a little bit, because I know half of his army is going to be deep striking in, and for me, I'm just like, okay, I need to bubble out for that, protect as much as I can while still doing some damage. So I pushed in, I keep things central, keep kind of everything so he can't deep strike behind me. I kill a whole bunch of termagants and hormigons, and I say, right, your turn. Now, Nick gets extremely lucky. Oh, well, actually, he could have been luckier if he rolled 5s, as he said, but he rolled 3 6s, a 5, and a 2 for all of his units. I think that's right. Yeah. And so all of his stuff gets to deploy and move, and he's then charging first turn with I think 3 units, and it's crazy. So he gets his uprising rolls were on point. They were perfect. Sorry, they were great. Perfect would have been 5s. Double shooting with everything. He kills a bunch of my army. Not particularly more. I think it's like 2 units of Troop Masters, a Shadow Seer, and a couple of bikes. Stuff I can take the hit for. However, because I know what I need to do here, I just have to ignore and protect against the Zoanthropes, and then we've got this big line of sight blocking thing right in the middle, which is actually really helpful for me. So I'm using that to block line of sight from smites, and I'm just focusing as much as I can on all the cultists. And looking to kill the Patriarch, and just deal with that wave of threat, and then I can switch back over. Now I make so right now I'm playing, in essence, in my mind, I'm playing a perfect game, right? But I make a big mistake here. Andy comes over and I tell him what I did, and he just smacks me in the top of the head. I set up on the left-hand side here, where there's a unit of hormigons here. I set up a charge with a unit of bikes, I think, no, because that's right, charge, so here we go, look, yeah, a unit of bikes, a unit of dudes, and a troop master, right? All of that's about to charge that unit of hormigons, and everything else is charged, all the stuff in the middle. Now I forget to actually charge the stuff on the left. So like I'm still, I think I've just done my movement, so my turn 2, I've just done my movement, I'm doing my shooting right now. I then do my charges, and I get a whole bunch of charges off on, and I finally kill his Patriarch, and etc., etc. Nick, because he's got heroic intervention on all his units, he heroic intervention into me, and because I'm very excited down here, I completely forget to charge the 3 units on the left. And now, in essence, all it does is it kills. He's got about 11 hormigons left, so it's 11 hormigons I didn't kill. But that's 11 hormigons that I still have to deal with. You get the idea? So that was the one the one mistake in the game that I made that wasn't on purpose. I'll make another mistake, but that's because I'm testing something out, and I'll talk about it in a second. Nick was a great opponent to play against. Everything was played, it was very, very clean. And he said the same for my gameplay, which was really good. We're both very friendly, we're both forgiving of little things. It was a very, very pleasant game to play. Especially when you're meeting new people and you come from different cultures, etc., etc. Not that Australian and American culture is just too different. Gameplay, killing stuff in the middle. I managed to finally kill all the cultists, and that's one of the really strong things about this list. Is it's almost deceptive of how much horde clearing I can do. Like I killed, what was that, 4 full units of 40-man or 30-man cultists in essence equivalents, plus 3 characters, all with 6 up, feel no pain. I think in 1 turn or 1.5 turns, something like that. It's insane the amount of damage I can put out for horde killing specifically, and it's something I really appreciate. But I'm in an elite-ish army, and so you get smited into me. It's bad news bears. Anyway, I get a little bit of redemption on the left-hand side. So Nick pushes up that Hormigaunt squad that I didn't kill, and he's making a 3-inch charge, but it's through a crater. And he rolls, I think he rolls double ones or something like that, and so he doesn't actually make that charge. And so I then kill it in my turn. So I get a bit of recompense. So turn 3 is about to come up, and I think other than that mistake, I think, all right, cool. I think I've got this. Nick's, like Team USA's coach comes over and says, "How's this going?" And Nick tells him, I think his name's Warner. Yeah, this is probably going to end up in a loss, because he's dealing with my hordes, and I've pretty much just got, like, I haven't touched any of his zoanthropes or anything, nothing in his backlines, and that's still a big threat. Remember, I'm still in the lead army, and I'm getting some enough cards that his hordes is not making too much of a difference. However, Andy, so our coach, tells me at this turn 3, that we're going to be losing the round. Like, I think we'd already lost 4 or 5 of the games, and so it didn't really matter what my results were. And I went, oh, okay. So what I was planning on doing was now just protecting my lead. So I'm winning as of turn 3, protect my lead, fall back out of smite range as much as possible, kill as much as I can, and then turn 5 dive onto objectives and try and hold them. Like, that's kind of my game plan. Because I've been told we've lost, I'm now trying to break this list, because I really liked Nick's list, and we were prepping for the Australian Team Championships, and I was thinking maybe this is a very interesting list I could take. I had all the models. It's like, I think I can take this. I think this is an interesting list. So I wanted to try and break it. So I use my solitaire, I blitz, I dive into his back lines, and I try and split my attacks and double swing, and split my attacks to try and kill his zoanthropes. Now, 2 things why this is a bad idea. One was because of the mission. I did this turn 3. This particular mission, from turn 3 onwards, you double all CP, and that screwed me because I couldn't double swing, which would have made a huge difference. It didn't click into me until I charged, and I was like, oh wait, no, I should have done this turn 2 if I was going to do it. Anyway, and the other thing was, zoanthropes, if you don't kill all of them, they're still just pretty much as effective as if you do. And neuranthropes, even if you get 3 wounds through to them, they've got, I think they start with 5 or 6, whatever it is, and they regain as wounds as they do smites. And that's pretty much what happened. I didn't kill enough. I killed 1 zoanthrope per unit and a couple of wounds on a neuranthrope, but that's it. had a double swung, I might have killed more, but I don't think I would have killed all the units. And his army, the way these zone thropes work, they don't care that much. You know, they lose a little bit of damage, but they don't become useless. And so once I had engaged, in essence, his core, but his core is all full of 3-up invo saves. Once I had engaged his core and not killed it, it plays like one of the lists against a friend of mine, Eric, which is a defensive army, which is, you don't kill this, well then I'm going to punish you. And that's exactly what happened. So it went from a almost guaranteed win on turn 3, and I just had to play defensively and keep my win, to me testing out if I dive him, what happens, because I wasn't quite sure. And what happens is he can take the hit and then smite his way to victory. And so yeah, he pushes back. And what was the score in the end? In the end, it was a 6-14 win to Nick. So I managed again. My lead in the beginning meant that even when I dived him and lost most of my army, I still had enough points there that I was getting 6 points. But that should really have been a flipped score. Like I probably would have gotten about 14 points had I just defended that lead. But it was a very, very enjoyable game, and the whole round, like everyone in Team USA, everyone in Team Australia voted Team USA as the best team, and they got our sports vote, and they definitely earned it. Things to improve: don't forget charges. And yeah, if you've got a lead and you don't need to push for points, don't. Like it is okay to just hold the lead and not go for a 20 and get like a 14-point win.
All right, round 3 of the ETC, and I am versing Christoph from Team Belgium, nickname Shifty, and he's playing lots of Dark Angels flyers. Well, these are the Hellblaster dudes, yeah? And aggressors and Azrael, and lots of fun and games. We're playing Dawn of War deployment there and there. Objectives. I love these big objective things. I'm going to try and get some made. And I stacked this side here. Christoph put, I think, that one there, and I put. He put those two. No, he put those two, and I put those two. And then I won the roll off, and I picked this side here. We'll see if it pays off. Yeah, should be a good game.
Alrighty, so playing Dark Angels and Flyers in particular, and this I don't think it was a particularly good matchup for Christoph. I don't know what like on my matchup sheet it was a green. I'm not sure what they had on theirs and if he was bust or not. Pardon me. But I believe I knew how to play against this list, and I knew the bombs could be a little bit dangerous, which is something I was protecting against. But I think, and I talk about this in like some of the training stuff that I do with the guys here in Brisbane. I believe I kind of won this game before we even set up any models, because of the way of the objectives were placed. I think I talk about this in the intro, where Christoph placed the first two, and they were kind of off center on one side, and so I then just piled in on that side, and even if I didn't win the roll off to pick sides, it wouldn't have made too much of a difference because we're playing, Dawn of War. So it's like I still am comfortable on playing on just either side, and even if you deploy first and get to choose your table's edge, etc., etc. If I can stack one side and then turn it into hammer and anvil, I think I've got this. And I think this was a progressive scoring mission as well. Not as well. I think this was a progressive scoring mission. And so that was kind of my game plan. It was a stack one side of the objectives, turn into hammer and anvil, and then I use my maneuverability or movement And so kill the planes, right? Because they're fast and they hurt my army. Kill the planes. Done. Now I use my movement to hold objectives. And as soon as I saw Christoph as well, so like that's kind of my game plan before we even deploy. And then I saw him starting to deploy kind of in that back corner away from all the objectives. And in my head, it was just solidified. I was like, yep, no, definitely, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to deploy my first unit on the left-hand side, behind this top left, and put a couple of units there to make it almost like seem like I'm going to put my army there. I'm going to reserve a unit of or 2 units of bikes, and then put the rest of my army, down here. And like I've got way more drops than him, so that was kind of my game plan. And so I got to see where all of his armies was. He put a couple of scouts on this objective on the right. All the other scouts, all the other army up here on the top right-hand corner. I have token amount of units on the top left. Rest of my army is kind of mid to mid-bottom, with the goal of it turning into hammer and anvil, me just sitting on the floor for 4 objectives and staying away from him. And that's pretty much what happened. My turn 1, so his turn 1, he pushes forward, he kills a bunch of bikes with his planes. My turn 1, I deep strike my 2 things in, I kill all but 1 of the planes. I blitz my solitaire and make a charge and kill all of his scouts. And now I've got 5 objectives. I am literally sitting on 5 objectives to his 1. And he's got a hurt plane. That was it. So yeah, end of turn 1, there was almost nothing that he could have done to pull this back from a win. Other than it going only to turn 5 and him getting some really good cards. And that's what he was playing for. Like, as soon as it started going turn 6 and then I think we ended turn 6, maybe we went to turn 7, I can't remember, but it didn't end turn 5, and that was it. It was just getting worse and worse for Christoph. And I think I scored. It was a little bit demoralizing. He was a really nice guy, but I got my most amount of cards. I think it was like most amount of points. It was like 46 points or something like that. It was just some insane number because I progressive scoring plus I got 3 cards per turn pretty much. And I think I actually got domination right at the end. Like I dived his back line on turn 6 or something like that, and I actually got domination. It was some crazy amount of cards. Anyway, there's not that much else to talk about other than this was a game similar to the last game where I got an early lead, but this game there was absolutely no way I was going to piss that away by diving him for no reason. Like I literally just said, I'm keeping away from your big doom ball thing for as long as possible. I'll give you maybe a unit a turn, and that was it. And so Christoph killed 1 or 2 units a turn, but that was like it was stuff that I was happy to give away just to keep him slow because I didn't. His actual best bet would have been to advance forward and push up to get into range for another turn, but he was just really worried, and rightfully so. So I mean, this is not a negative thing to him, but he was really worried that I would move into range to hurt him before he could hurt me. And that's kind of the cat and mouse thing. You can see I'm just pulling him away. I'm literally asking him, what's your movement, what's your shooting? I knew what the number was. All right, I'm now going to be half an inch away from that. And I'm just pulling back. I have a solitaire, and eventually I get a troop master as well. So I get 2 units onto that right-hand objective. I've got a troop master and a shadow seer on the bottom 2 objectives. I've got a death jester on the middle objective, and up the top I've got a unit and a troop master hiding behind that little wall, and then all my bikes kind of just slowly preparing to dive to his back unit on the very end of the game. Yeah, that's it. I'm just little movements. Some like literally most of my turns were like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. The longest was like I'd not shoot with anything. Like I think for 2 turns I haven't shot with any of my army. It was literally just move here, yep, and I score my cards. Cool. this turn, this is like turn 4, I think, turn 5. He pushed up close enough so that I could make a charge from behind the wall, because I want to kill a bunch of Hellblasters, just to, because that's what I'm kind of running away from. And he got a card that he needed to score my objective, and because I'm a obsec, he had to kill my troops to push me off. And I was playing like silly buggers with character rules. Like I would put a character out in the line of sight, but they had to have the troops right in the wall, so they're closer, so he couldn't actually target my character, but I could shoot him with psychic powers. It was very funny. Anyway, I kill a bunch of Hellblasters. Eventually all those guys die, so he gets 3 kill points, and he eventually gets that objective. But this is now it. Like now he's kind of committed a little bit. I can now push up, and you can see me measuring. I just need to be just in range of that thing. I'm pushing up. I'm going to try and hurt him. These units here, they're getting ready for that turn 6 or turn 7, whatever it is, push to his back objective. I think I've drawn domination now. And I think I managed to, I kill those units. I think I killed that boat, what's it called, the Dark Shroud. Okay, maybe not. Maybe I kill it next turn. And he's now turned it into Hammer and Anvil. He's kind of straddling 2 objectives, but it's not really good enough. And I've still got CP. Remember the whole discussion, the Harlequins, when they lose CP, they're not as effective. Because I haven't been doing anything. I haven't really been using any CP. I've still kind of got CP near the end of the game. I think I had 2 CP near the end because I stole some of his when he eventually used them. Anyway, turn 6 is happening. I'm pushing forward. I kill all of his scouts that were sitting on that objective, I believe. I've pushed in. I think we got turn 7 because we had like 15 minutes to go. And it's like, all right, look, man, let's just do a turn 7. He shot me. I think this is my last 2 CP to go neg 1 to hit. I then pushed forward, killed the 1 unit of scouts sitting on objective, and stole his objective. And I think I then got domination. Yeah, I think this is me getting domination now. Yeah, really fun game. Probably not so much for Christoph, but I was feeling a little bit sorry for him. But overall, we did bad things to Belgium. Well, it was a very big win to us, and I apologise in advance, Tom. But I don't think any of us had any particular bad games. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Game 4, day 2. Australia versus Switzerland. Pascal is here. Now we have Jack. Ben. Right. Simon. With deployment. Hello. Yeah, the same case. Richard. We both are doing deployment at the moment. Ooh. Adam. Tony. Here's Matt. Last but not least, Pat.
All right, round 4, versing Adrian from Switzerland. So there's our team and everyone else. Now, full disclosure, I made a little bit of a screw up in matchups where I was looking at Adam's column when giving Pascal his matchup, which screwed us a little bit, not too bad. It wasn't completely terrible, but anyway, so I'm versing a whole bunch of knights. Now, in my head, I should be okay. But every time I verse Pascal with his bloody knights, he kills me, which is annoying. So, Adrian, you want to say anything?
That's Pascal. I mean,
That's Pascal. All right.
you can trust his stats.
That's right. All right. So as said in my intro, knights. In the matchups and in my head, green. Haywire Harlequins should be able to beat knights, and they can. That's the short story of this game was they can. They just need a little bit of time, and they need to not. They need average luck. Let's put it that way. I don't need to get lucky, but I also don't need to let my opponent get a little bit lucky as well. So I'll talk about kind of three main concepts in this game, and I mentioned it briefly in another game that we talked about. Was sacrificing unimportant stuff to let the important stuff do its work, and that it will be epitomized in this game. And then I'll mention briefly the kind of the two really interesting things that happened. But the overarching game plan was literally, so you can see all the troops and the boats and everything is there just to protect the bikes. The bikes need to survive. So I deep strike 2 units of bikes. I need to spread them out. I need them so they're not next to each other because he took Landstrider, which makes his knights even faster than normal. And I'm prepared to sacrifice everything to keep my bikes working. And that's pretty much what happens. Now, it was very, very funny from Adrian. That knight on the right that got his turn 1 charge, he could not kill. He didn't cause 1 wound on a unit of 5 ordinary troop, like ordinary players. I think he out of 15 attacks. I think this is a melee one. 15 attacks. I went neg 1 to hit, I believe, and so he's hitting on 3s. He got like 5 or 6 hits, and then the Shadow Sea is there, so he's winning on 3s, and he only got, I think, 2 wounds, and I made both my saves. And I was like, well, I wasn't expecting that. And yeah, so I'm just looking to hold up, I surround his shooting knight. I'm just looking to hold up his army, sacrifice everything, so that my bikes can do work. I pull back this other unit of bikes, because my other 2 units of bikes are going to be dropping in, and the game plan is to drop in his back corner, split him up. So I pull back, I'm trying to create space, I pull to the side, I want him not supporting each other, I want no more than 1 knight hitting any particular area at one time, as much as possible, of course. And slowly pick on 1 single knight at a time and try and kill that as much as possible. That's game plan. Now, I'm relying on CP. I'm pretty much only spending CP on neg 1 to hit. Actually, my apologies. Yeah, I didn't use the neg 1 to hit on the other troop, the unit of troops. That would be a complete waste. It was just him rolling really terribly on that unit. Anyway, I'm only using neg 1 to hit and 3-up invo on all the bikes. That's pretty much all my CP only going into that. Eventually, I'm eventually losing all my troop masters and all that. They cause what damage they can. They mitigate the damage that he can do. So like his like melee knights or shooting knights. I can't remember which one he had. Once they're touched in combat, they can't shoot out of combat or anything like that. And they can't move out of combat. So by just kind of shutting them down, it prevents damage. So game plan is prevent damage from my bikes, to my bikes. English. Yeah, that's pretty much it. My bikes, now this is my turn 2. My bikes come in. Of course, I'm annoying Adrian, asking him to move everything, but I dropped my bikes there in the back corner. I realized afterwards that it was, this is not a terrible mistake, but this is a minor mistake. For efficiency, I should have dropped these guys, or at least 1 unit of these guys, in between the knight on the left, on the bottom left, and the small knight that just died.
so on that left hand side. There was enough room, and they should have dropped it there, because I thought this unit of bikes plus the Death Jesters, etc., would have killed this very hurt knight down the bottom left. But it actually gets down to, I think, like 2 wounds left, and that's huge, because he could. I think he had the ability to spend 1 CP, get the full effectiveness, and go rampage my lines. And that should not have been a thing. I should have dropped at least 1 unit there. I could have still been within 24 of both the big tank, a big knight, and the medium-sized knight down here. So I keep forgetting what they're called, Castellan. So yeah, and because they're close, had he made that charge, because I think he fails this charge, but had he made that charge, he could have possibly tagged both units and hurt me a lot. Now, that Castellan, he got down 1 a tier, and I spent 2 CP to go neg 1 to hit, so he's like hitting on 5s or something like that. But he still managed to, with his overcharging plasma, kill 3 bikes, because he got a bunch of 5s to hit, and then I failed a whole bunch of saves. So I was very, very sad about that. Now, I don't remember if I remembered for him to get the overheat damage. It didn't make a difference in the game, but it could have, and I got to make sure I remember that for people who overheat against me. When they're neg 2 to hit, they're getting hurt on 3s, which is never a pleasant thing. Anyway, my turn, I think it was turn 3. Yeah, my turn 3. I push forward just in range of the middle knight, because I only need to cause, I think, 1 or 2 wounds on this bottom knight to kill it. I finally kill it, plus I shoot at that middle knight. I finally kill... Do I kill the Castellan? No. I get it down to like 1 wound or something like that. His turn... Oh, no, so the Castellan's really low, but he's not dead yet. He pushes forward, he kills a couple more bikes, and now Adrian gets a huge charge into my unit there. He managed to get in, and he kills, I think, 3 of the bikes. Yeah, it's not a good thing. But now that I've split, you can see, look, I've now split up his army. I've now killed. So those knights at the top, they're dead knights. They're not actually alive. He's just putting them to the side. I just now kill the Castellan. Luckily, with the explosion, he actually exploded, but he didn't kill the troop master that was nearby. My troop master's on like 2 wounds. Anyway, by splitting them up now, I can afford to jump in the middle with all my bikes and use the ruins to not be able to be charged. And by this time, Adrian's now run out of CP. So, knights with CP as well, scary as hell. Anyway, eventually get to a point where he's run out of CP, he's down to 2 knights. Now, the last one just died, this is now turn 5. Sorry, the 4th one's just died. He's got 1 left, and I'm sitting up here, sitting pretty. I've still got a bunch of little units. I'm sitting on all the objectives, and he needs it to end. If it ended turn 5, I think Adrian still won 11-9, something like that. I think he was up by 1 point, just because of how the board state was, and he had enough objectives. But then it went to turn 6, and then it was like 16 points to me. It was a huge swing, turn 6. And then turn 7, we actually went to turn 7, and that was it. I tabled him and got the full 20.
Good morning, everyone. Day 4. Ukraine versus Australia. Table 1. We have Richard here. And then they measure it up. Hello to Australia. We have Adam with the Ukraine captain. Here we have Jack and his opponent. Here is Simon. Hello.
Hi. One of the units get it, and the other one gets 2 fights.
Right here is Len.
Per turn. Okay, cool. Sweet. Otherwise, guard, you've got the Fiston, you've got a Smash Captain. Guard.
Here we have Marty against Knights. There is Andy.
Hello.
Hello. Good, thank you.
Good.
The Ukrainian guy. And here is Pascal.
Yeah. You were like infiltrating my
Opponent.
Hey, Abba-dabba-dabba-dum.
Here's Martin Sarbi. And that's it.
About my relics. My World of Trade, so I roll once to
Now, special edition. Russia is versing Team America. You see them, Team Russia versus Team America. And another one is the Brits, Team England versus Scotland. Scottish people and the English people.
generate common points on time up.
Hello.
All right, game 5 of the ETC versus Ukraine, and there's the guys, and a gentleman. Lives in Denmark, yeah, Kasten?
Yeah.
And originally from Ukraine, or you're a merc from Denmark?
Oh, I'm actually from Denmark.
Ah, excellent. So he's a merc, and for the second time.
As you can see,
In like 15 years, I am playing Harlequins at a tournament. This is insane. So the singles and now the team. I don't think on my channel I've actually got any games where I'm versing Harlequins with my Harlequin at the same time. It's a miracle. So we're playing Hammer and Anvil, Relic in the middle, Dark Eldar Harlequins versus pure Harlequins. Should be interesting. Alright, so as I said in the singles game, this time it's pure Harlequins versus Dark Eldar Harlequins, so it's like a mirror of the singles where I was playing Dark Eldar Harlequins versus the pure Harlequins, and I finally play another game of Harlequins versus Harlequins. In essence, this was a very fun game as well against Kasten, and there was a few things that I was actually teaching Kasten throughout the game. So he was getting I don't think anyone's getting particularly lucky or unlucky. It's just my list, because he was kind of mech Dark Eldar with some witches and 1 unit of bikes, and my army can deal with that quite easily. I've got too much like this was agreeing to me. I've got too much haywire, and not enough of his guns actually hurt me. Some of the things I was teaching him was like he was trying to cast the neg 1 to hit power of Harlequins on his bikes, but I mentioned you can only do that on infantry, and this is something that he didn't realize, and none of his opponents picked up on him in the past few games. So it was an honest mistake, and I graciously allowed him to move his Psyker back. Like, he moved his Psyker up to cast, but he wouldn't have done it had he known that he couldn't cast it. And so, yeah, man, you can take it back. It's all good. So I don't think he did it for the next round, but I don't think it made a difference, because if we were playing each other on round 5, then they were doing about as well as we were. But saying that, this is day 3, and we're day 3. We are 10th place. We're at 2 wins, a draw, and a loss.
And so, we're still up there. We're 10th place, and I think Ukraine were like 12th at the time. And so we had high spirits going to day 3. And depending on how we did on these next 2 rounds would depend on, where we placed. And we needed literally 1 draw to be higher points than any other of our campaigns. And we got the closest in the next round in Belarus in getting that draw. Unfortunately, we lost this round. It wasn't by that much, but we did lose it, and it wasn't though for want of me trying. Anyway, about the game itself. The game plan was to kill the fast moving elements, the plane, the bikes, and to hem him into kind of hammer and anvil, but not so much hammer and anvil, but just one area, making sure that anything that he would push up for, you can see kind of what, I'm using dice and measurement and all that to mark exactly where I need to be. So I'm using line of sight to mean that if he wants to be able to shoot me, he then has to go a certain way. And it's kind of like corralling him by not moving myself, me not forcing or pushing him to be corralled, but me pulling back to one way to force him that if he wants to shoot at me, he has to corral into kind of one area. Hopefully I've kind of explained that semi-coherently, but it's not like me forcing him to go one way. It's me saying, if you want to hurt me, you have to go that way. It's just a different mindset, and that way I can control kind of the movement that was happening. Anyway, the middle was kind of contested. Remember, this is the relic, so we're playing the same missions in the thing, and so round 5, I'll just double check that. Mission 5 is, relic, and he's got the relic really early with his witches, because he jumped out of the boat, he made a huge advance, he spent the 1 point, got the 6-inch advance, he had 2-inch movement on his witches, and so he runs up, grabs the relic, and runs back 9 inches. However, my game plan is just to punch whoever has the relic with my solitaire and bikes, and then hold it. So when I piled in moved, or consolidate moved, after I killed that unit, I then grabbed the relic. And then I was just holding it with my solitaire. And eventually, I swap, I think I drop it, or my solitaire dies, and I give it to another character. But that's the game plan. Like I grab the relic, I'm holding all the objectives, and I'm pushing up the middle, using this big line of sight blocking thing to kind of go a certain way, make him have to go a certain way. My haywire is doing work, it's killing all the boats that it needs to kill. I still got about half my army. All my characters are sitting right in the middle, and kind of I've captured all of his characters. I'm punching him with just ordinary troops, just trying to get his Archons to lose Shadowfield. So when you're doing 25 attacks, oh, not 25. It's 4 times 5, 20. When you're doing 20 attacks, and hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, we'll say you get 10 wounds through. I don't know, something like that. Maybe it's less. But statistically, he should fail at least one of those saves. And as soon as that happens, then you go in with your Troop Master, using the kisses, with Zephyrglaves, crap like that. That's when you do your hard hitters. So you're trying to get him to fail a Archon, the Shadowfield save, with all the little shit, and then bash him with the good stuff. Look, my apologies if this is not necessarily the most engaging right now. It's kind of me wrapping up what's happening. It's not me, like the tactics have already happened, and now it's just me executing, in essence, that plan. One really cute thing I did was I charged the back unit, or I piled into a back unit of warriors, and then he fell back with that unit of warriors, and I spent the 1 CP to shoot that unit of warriors and killed them all. It's always a good thing to... Just when you've got a game plan and the game plan then falls apart when you kind of get intercepted by falling back. It's always a fun little thing. He used what's it called, where you get a Death Jester, a Shadow Seer, and a Solitaire. I think that's it. And the players one, you can teleport. He was keeping 2 or 3 CP just to do a deep strike dive in the back lines. He didn't get any of his charges off though, and that meant that I could kind of turn around. I sacrificed those 2 back objectives while I was pulling my characters. So you can see all my characters in the middle left type area. So I sacrificed those bottom bits while I pulled my characters back to deal with it. So to do smites, and it's really much just Shadow Seers falling back. They're doing some smites, they're doing some grenade shots, while still trying to hold those objectives with the troops. But I've killed all his backline, pretty much. I've got all the relic. I've got the relic, 3, 4, 5 of the objectives, something like that. And I'm still making my saves. I got 4 up invos. He's got 3 up, like on this Solitaire. Sure, he's got a bunch of attacks, but I've got about the same amount of attacks. Like 5 troops have more attacks than the Solitaire, and the Solitaire doesn't necessarily do more damage than troops, if you think about it. You know what I mean? So sure, I've got so Solitaire's 5 wounds, 3 up invo, strength 4, say D3 damage each if you've got the rows. A unit of troop is not that much worse when they're fighting each other. It's not the best target for a Solitaire. Anyway, this game ends with me getting full 20. But yeah, it was. I don't believe it was a particularly good matchup for Caston, and from the initial conversation that we had, I think this was an army that he was given that he had to play. It wasn't necessarily his first choice. Anyway, moving. So I won my game, but unfortunately we lost that round against the Ukraine. So we're moving on to the last game against Belarus, and I have played. You saw in the singles, I played 2 of their players, and so I had some very good hopes that we'd have some really good games.
Alrighty, final game of ETC, and we're versing Belarus, and this is Andre.
Hi guys.
And versing Orks. Lots and lots of Orks. Here's my Harlequin.
Master of War.
So I bubbled out. I won the roll to go first and gave Andre first. So let's see if it was a terrible mistake or a wonderful tactical move. I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass right now. Alrighty, so this comes to the last round, and we're still looking for either a win or a draw, for our own personal best, right? So we're not playing for top tables anymore, but we're just looking for our own personal best here as a team. And I was excited because I was going to be playing Orks, and I was quite interested in playing against Orks and seeing if my kind of game plan for how I thought I was going to beat them was panning out. So if you remember in my singles how I said I have a surprising amount of anti-infantry, well my team list is similar in concept. It's not as efficient without the Dark Eldar, but it is similar in concept. Anyway, this game, however, it took a turn for the worse for a couple of reasons. One of them, it kind of started in the singles, if you remember, where I was saying any player that's got over 100 models, I should and will be getting to use a chess clock. Now, my gut said do this, but remember what I just said. The mindset was, this is our last round, we're having fun, we're not playing for top tables anymore,
I don't think I need to do chess clocks. And I asked my opponent, hey, I think we should use a chess clock. And he gives me a bit of a song and dance about how he plays really, really fast. His last game, you know, or every game he's played, they've got to at least turn 5. And he plays super fast. Now, you just saw deployment, like in this time-lapse video, and the deployment took about 45 minutes. Just then, and it wasn't because I was waiting for him, because I put like he would deploy one unit, and as he's deploying his first unit, I'd deploy mine, and in essence I didn't take up any time of deployment, and so with a bit of stuffing around the beginning, kind of looking at lists, and I think we ran 5 minutes over in matchups. By the time his turn 1 had started, it had already been 1 hour to go. Now, I told him I would like to use a chess clock. He convinced me that he shouldn't. One of the things I should have done was go with my gut and use it. There was no excuse. It's just, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. At the deployment phase, when we've got 3 hours left of this is a 4-hour round, 3 hours left, I should have said no. We should go with the just chess clock. He does his first turn, moves up, kills a unit, etc., etc. By the time I get my first turn, we're at 2 hours to go. So his first turn, looking at the time, or possibly it was after my first turn, but his turn 2 was 2 hours ago. Can't remember exactly. Yeah, because I pulled out the chess clock, so I pulled out the chess clock for his turn 2, and we had 2 hours left. That's it. So he had his first turn, took about 45 minutes. I had my first turn, took about 15, 20 minutes. So all up, I remember exactly because I put 2 hours on the clock. Now, one of the things that was annoying me was when I finally asked him for the chess clock, knowing that we've taken this much time. At the very beginning, he had a chess clock on the table and he put it in his bag. And then when I said, okay, can we use your chess clock? He goes, I don't have one. All right. So I then got my chess clock, and that's what you just see me set it up here. And there was just little instances of him, in essence, outright cheating in this game. And I had to call over the TO for this. And they discussed how to resolve it, but it was just starting to grate on me. So I'm getting pressure with, time pressure, and then little instances where. So you can see here, he'd be rolling a dice. He'd roll a whole bunch of dice, and then just as he's about to scoop, I would point out that there was still like a 3. Let's say he needed 4s to hit. I'd point out there was a 3. He would say, "What do you mean there's a 3?" And like he's just in the process of picking it up, and he would then start arguing at me, that as if I was the one doing something wrong here, because I'm pointing it out just as he's picking it up, so he can't confirm, so he feels like he's being cheated out of the 3, and it's a really interesting tactic. I've talked about this a few times with friends of mine, where when people are I'll finish that thought. When people are kind of doing things which are not correct, and then they become kind of aggressive back to you when you're pointing out a mistake, it's a pretty good, because you don't necessarily, we've come from Australia, we've flown all this way, we're trying to have a fun game, we don't want to get into a fight, and so to reduce the tension, we'll kind of say, okay, no, you're fine, but I'm already feeling pressured. And this is where I make my big blunder in this game here, because his game plan is to move on to all the objectives, or as many as possible. So he's right now got 4 out of the 6 objectives. On this turn 2, he just moves and runs. That's it. And now he's used 2.5 hours of the turn by turn 2. Yeah, he's used 2.5 hours. In the end, he uses about 2 hours and 50 minutes. Of the 4 hours. just for himself. And he uses about 2.5 hours just in turns 1 and 2. Just to get onto all the objectives, because this was a progressive scoring round. That's an important thing, because he actually times out. He runs out of time, but it doesn't make a difference, because he's still scoring the points as we go. Like, he runs out of time. At the end of turn 3, he ran out of time. I believe that's exactly what happened. It could be turn 4, but regardless. Before the end of the game, he ran out of time, and the judge has been called over 3 times now, and there'll be an instance of cheating that I point out here in a second, but... he runs out of time, but he's on 4 of the 6 objectives. He can still score the things, and because I felt pressured, so my game plan, and this is all the game plans for any elite army playing Orks, is to spread them out. Remember what I was doing against the Knights? Is spread them out, get them to be not supporting each other, etc. My game plan, turn 2, was spread them out, pull them back, but I started getting pressured. I started feeling pressured from a time point of view. I started feeling pressured, just the things that he was doing. And so I engaged too early. In turn 2, I charged forward. I engaged on like 3 different fronts. I blitzed my solitaire into all his characters because they're all standing next to each other. Luckily, I swing. I took some damage on Overwatch and went to strength 5. I killed his... a Psyker, the 6-up Philippine guy, his war boss, etc. Like, I kill all those characters with my solitaire. But that's all I should have charged. I should have just charged the solitaire, killed the characters, and then turn 3 engaged. Because I did in turn 2, he could then spend 2 CP, interrupt, and kill a bunch of stuff at the top here. Now, this is the point that happened. This unit, so what the unit that he interrupted with, it was 18 Ork boys, of which about 6 or 7 of them had shooters. He was punching me as if they had, I think, 5 attacks each, like as if they had the +1 for over 20 models, the +1 for having a chopper, possibly even the +1 for the war boss dude. I can't remember. And you can see that the judge has come over. I've told him what's going on. He's just done all his attacks. He's killed all my models. And now my models are coming back on the table because we had to redo it. However, the judge, and I'm not going to rule against the judge, but the judge, rather than him using his own time to redo that, said to pause the time and get him to redo it. So that was about 5 or 10 minutes that he ate into the overall time, not into anyone else's time. Like, we paused the clock, and he's redoing all of that, and that's because, he's not doing the correct amount of attacks, and it's not until I pointed it out. It's like he would have quite easily done all that and just smiled his way, and I was really starting to not enjoy this game. Like, it was pretty much turn 2. I was saying, right, I know what's going on here. He's tricked me in essence to not using the clock, and that's on me. I should have been more forceful. But I haven't used the clock. By the end of turn 2, he's already used his 2 hours. He's on all the objectives. It's progressive scoring, and that pressure has caused me. So yeah, you can see his teammate I've swapped shirts with. So that pressure though has caused me to engage, to make a mistake, and then his mannerisms and behaviour. So his dice, like pointing out the 3s. This happened multiple times. His captain was standing there watching when I pointed out the 3, and he started yelling at me, saying, "What 3? What 3?" And his captain had to tell him, "No, there was a 3 there." And so like all of this combines into kind of getting me on tilt. You know, you've heard this term before. And so by the time he's run out of time, right? So turn 4, he doesn't play turn 4 or 5. I think we even go to turn 6. I can't remember, but we don't play turn 4. Don't play turn 5. He's got 0 time. I've still got like 5 minutes left. But remember, I've only had an hour of this game, and we'll say an hour and 15 because we'll say 15 minutes in the beginning of the game. But I've had an hour of this game, but I didn't have enough to kill him. Like, I still had, I don't know, a quarter of my army. But they just can't kill all those models. And he's just sitting on all objectives, scoring points. And in the end, I think he won 24 points. So I literally was looking to get 1 point from the round. because we lost to Belarus by 1 point. Had any one of us gotten 1 point, including my game, we would have drawn. That would have been the best that Australia had done, but it would have been better than losing 20-0 to that. Now, I said some probably very unflattering things to him in front of the judges as well. I 100% stand by those statements, but it's never a good idea to lose your cool, because it costs you games. You can see that I lost my cool. I got on tilt from the little things that I should have just stuck with my game plan, stuck with it, said, look, ignored what was happening, got the chess clock out as soon as as soon as possible, and said, obviously this was happening. It's my fault for letting him convince me not to use the clock. Now we're using the clock. Forget his time. It doesn't matter how much time he's using. Focus on my game, and just play as clean as possible. In the end, he got a yellow card from that for that behaviour, and that will translate over to the next round, next ETC. But yeah, there was a number of instances in the, I won't go into every detail. Just to say that there was enough instances there of bad behaviour I believe on his part, and sure I didn't necessarily help by calling him names, but by the end of it, everyone that was watching had concluded that there was something intrinsically wrong with the game. I had two judges, in essence, watching the game for the last 15-20 minutes of it, and then they discussed it and gave him a yellow card. It didn't negate the 20-0, but that type of behaviour was not expected from the captains through the discussions that we had leading up to it, plus in the players pack. That type of behaviour is not acceptable, and it was just very disappointing that the last game of the event had to end in such a way. You know what I mean? Like, if it was like the second game or something like that, you can kind of get over it, but this is us wrapping it up. I was having a really fun event throughout all of it, through the singles, through the teams. Everything was sunshine and candy. But the three instances where I felt that the games weren't necessarily that they didn't go to conclusion, which definitely leaves a little bit in kind of your gut that is just like, I don't feel as happy or as satisfied with that. Were the three games with hordes, and that in essence we don't go past turn 3. Now, this game we did actually, we ended turn 5 or 6. I don't know, one of those two. But that's because he played up to turn 4, and he ran out of time after using 2 hours and 45 minutes. I played until turn 5 or turn 6, regardless. And so that counted as getting to turn 5. To me, I don't count that. That's irrelevant. The other two games, you saw, we only got 2 turns or 3 turns. And no one really likes that. Anyway, as a wrap-up, for me, the ETC was a wonderful event. I fully recommend it to anyone thinking about going. One of the things that we definitely need to improve in Australia is the kind of list making and meta predictions, and the kind of like the infrastructure of people for support. So, like, we're getting better and better every time. Like, this is now my second ETC, and we're getting better in that process. But there's always kind of a struggle. Like, you're going, all right, we need ETC practice, and then because it's all fragmented in Australia, but it's also fragmented in if you play ITC missions or if you play some tournaments don't even use ITC or ETC. They use some weird and wonderful missions. So everyone's not really. There aren't groups of people all focused kind of on playing one mission set in preparation for one large event. Whereas in Europe, this is like the mission set is pretty much what they play, or a lot of them play. So that is definitely a struggle that Australia will need to keep working on, and through that will come a lot more of that meta predictions and list building and things like that. But that, as I say, that's a problem for the next team, and I wish Peyton, who's next year's captain, and the rest of the team all the luck, and I'll definitely be helping with all the prep. If anyone needs a game or anything like that, come hit me up.
Hello, boys.
Hello.
So we have here the referees. We have Neil, your name, Peter, and Chris. So for most of you know them. Of course.
Mark is learned.
Yeah. So how you doing, boys? How's the referee life?
Easy.
Busy?
Yeah. Reffing is a nice job.
Yeah.
Like you can meet people.
Bully them.
Yeah.
Get free drinks, not bribes.
No,
honestly.
Really?
No bribes, just free
No
drinks.
bribes. No bribes.
Donations.
Donations?
Donations.
Donation.
Involuntary.
Yeah, that's another way to put it. Right?
So
It's good. I mean, we do this because we can hang out with people here.
Yeah. It's like I was playing in Polish team for a few years. I just wanted to ref to have an opportunity to meet people like Chris, Neil, because you don't have that possibility if you are playing in a team.
Yeah, you have no time. You're just like gaming.
Head down.
Yeah. So refereeing, it's like, yeah, let's walk around, let's be social.
Yeah.
It's more fun.
I haven't partied with other teams for like 3 years straight because I had to play like winning, so we need to win, not party. That's not fun.
That's not a rule for Australia. In general,
I grew up.
for boys.
Yeah, Poland are quite serious as well.
Yeah.
They're good teams, so they take it quite serious.
They're competitive. That's not for
It's
fun.
okay, you'll learn this, Chris. Eventually, you win enough tournaments and don't care.
You'll learn.
Chris.
That's my case. That's my case.
So for how long you have been refereeing?
We've been doing it for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Couple of years.
Certainly my first year here.
Reffing isn't hard. You just need to be strict and sure of your decisions. That's all. You might be wrong, but you need to follow through your decision at some point and just continue with it.
Yeah.
And it's like I was saying on the OBSEC podcast.
Yeah.
You have to, as a ref, even if you know the rules, the most important thing is you find the rule and show it to the opponents.
Yep.
Because that way you know you're not mixing the rule up yourself. And the best thing is it teaches. If I say this is the rule, and they go to the next game and they say, oh, this guy told me the rule. Not so good. If you show them the rule, and the next game they show their opponent the rule as well. It educates them, which makes our lives easier.
Okay, thank you very much to the referees, and see you soon.
See you.